So it's me, Teresa, and I am coming to make a video about why the Young Lives program is so important to me as an individual and as a woman who was a teenage parent. So about 3.5 years ago, our youth pastor at the time, named Chris Dickens, invited a woman named Myrna Batar to our local church, which was Lighthouse Community Church. And I am so beyond grateful that he did, because that November I heard about the ministry called Young Lives. And as I sat there and listened to Myrna share about this program, I felt a calling to come and work with this particular nonprofit ministry. And I went to my first club that following month, which was the Christmas Club, and I was asked if I wanted to be a mentor to go to the winter camp, which was happening in just a few weeks, like a month later. And it took a little convincing and a whole lot of prayer, but I stepped up and I said sure. And from that second of the very first feeling of God covering this ministry and calling me to it, I knew that this was going to be a passion of mine. And it has been for 3.5 years. And you've probably heard me talk about it, and you've probably seen pictures that I've posted of these amazing women. But I just wanted to come and talk to you a little bit about my testimony of being a teenage mother. So I am going to tell you the honest to goodness truth. I went to Chapman University my freshman year and I partied hard. I don't even remember what classes I took because I did not take them seriously in any way. My parents sent me to the most expensive party they could have ever gotten me into, and I went willingly. And I had a lot of fun, I met some amazing people, and I'm very grateful for that time. However, I made a lot of choices that I hopefully would not make now. And I actively ran away from a relationship with my parents. I literally rebelled and said, no, I don't want a relationship with you in any way. I rebelled against my relationship with God, and even though He gave me multiple opportunities that year to be His daughter, I basically shut the door on Him and said, thanks, but no thanks. I came home that summer and continued acting in immature ways that many 19-year-olds act like, quite honestly. However, I was not being the best version of myself, and it resulted in the end of the summer, I was like, something's wrong, and I went to the doctor by myself because obviously I was too afraid to tell anyone at the time. And I went, and the nurse practitioner came back into the room and she said, yes, you are pregnant. And I will never forget, the following sentence was, but you don't have to be. And I'm so grateful that my parents gave me enough of a foundation in God and a belief and a support that I knew that I could do it. But I looked her straight in the eye and I said, no, I don't have a choice. And from that minute, I knew I was going to be a teenage parent. So she sent me to go and get further testing because it had been the whole summer. And she actually told me that she thought that I might have some physical issues with the pregnancy, where she was worried. So I went and I got an ultrasound, again by myself. I went to a whole nother location to get this ultrasound, and the woman who did the ultrasound pictures couldn't tell me anything. She was just taking the pictures, and the nurse practitioner has actually said, you know, your child might, you might have an ectopic pregnancy. This might result in a miscarriage anyway, because you might not be able to carry this child to term. I'd been told earlier in my teenage years that I had endometriosis and I wasn't supposed to even be able to have a child. So all these different things were going through my head as this woman told me, please, you need to wait for an hour for the doctor to get back from his lunch hour and tell you the results of this ultrasound. So I was terrified. I was devastated. I was crying. And I went to the only place that I knew of to go to, and it was my local church. And I went to my church, and it was open, and I went in willingly for the first time in over a year. And no one was there, and I will never forget that I went right up to the front of the church, one of the pews, and I kneeled down, and I just cried, and I cried, and I asked God for forgiveness, and I begged him to allow my child to be okay. And I said, if my child is physically okay, I will have this baby. I will dedicate this baby to you, and I will raise this baby to know and love you. And I felt the most overwhelming peace come over me, which I can only explain as being the Holy Spirit, and I knew that it was all going to be okay. And so while God confirmed in me that it was going to be okay, I did get up and I went outside, and sure enough, practically the second I left the church, I got the phone call from the doctor saying, congratulations, you are pregnant. You're 4 months pregnant, or almost 4 months pregnant. It was like 3 months. And it's a little girl. And you guys know her now as Isabella Kate Stack, and she's the most amazing blessing in the entire world. But I've got to tell you, it wasn't easy. I'm very grateful that I had parents that accepted me back into the house without judgment, really, and helped me with babysitting and helped me financially. But they also instilled in me a lot of the things that I needed to learn to become a parent. I had no clue. The doctors, of course, made sure that I had a car seat, but there was no manual of how to become a parent. My mom had adopted me. My parents had adopted me when I was 2.5. My mom had not really spent much time around infants. Having an infant in the house was a learning curve for all of us. And it was interesting. And I'm so grateful that I had enough friends and family that came about and supported me, but I had to really learn how to be a Christian mom. I had to learn from mentors and from guidance, and I needed that from different programs. I personally joined a program called MOPS, and that was life-changing for me. But I will never forget, I just recently actually ran across the VHS of Bella's baptism. And if you're watching this, you might have been there, because many of my girlfriends were there supporting me. My male friends who were extremely close to me and still mean so very much to me. I had family, friends of my parents were all around me, but my dad was recording it, and I watched as I went up there to dedicate my baby, and I started crying. I was crying in the video as I'm holding her in her baptismal gown. And I remember what it felt like to stand up there as a single teenage mom. It's emotional now. And I remember looking to my left and my right, because they did a universal dedication at the end of come up so that I can bless your child kind of thing, and there were families on either side, and I knew that Bella wasn't going to have that traditional family. And I knew because I had felt ostracized from our church family as my belly grew, and a circle literally grew around my family whenever we would go to church. I remember my Catholic priest that I had gone to for guidance while I was pregnant pushing adoption pamphlets towards me because he couldn't understand why I was choosing to be a teenage parent. And I was like, I'm adopted myself. I'm all for adoption. I know that this is a wonderful avenue. However, I know that I can be this little girl's mother, and I know that this is what God has planned for me, and this is part of my path, and people couldn't understand it. And so I can tell you honestly and truthfully that being a teenage parent is hard, and it is scary, and it is daunting, and they need support. They need help. And it is our duty as individuals to come along them and help them. Okay, it tells us in the Bible to love the little children and those who can't help them, who they can help themselves, but they need support. These girls that are part of our program are some of the hardest workers, are some of the most loving moms. They are amazing daughters themselves. They try everything they can to help their family. They're continuing their education in many ways. Some of them have already graduated from their certificate programs, or continuing their education at SAC. And you know what? I'm not going to tell you any more about them, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to come on and make videos throughout the next month or so, because this fundraiser is going to be going on for into July. And while I'm asking you now to dig into your funds financially to support me for my birthday gift, if you wanted to give me a birthday gift. However, I know that finances are tight, especially at the end of months. So check your budget in June and check your budget again in July, because we need your support. We need your funds to help with diapers and wipes, and most specifically to send kids to camps when the camps reopen. Okay, camps will reopen, and these kids deserve that opportunity to be kids and feel the love of God at a camp and through the clubs. And if you have any questions about how you can support, how you can be a mentor, how you can be active to donate physical goods to these girls. But specifically, I'm gonna be honest, we need your money, okay? This fundraiser usually brings in $25,000, and we cannot send out the baby bottles this year. So we need you to support us through this link, which I'm going to attach to this video. Thank you so much for watching. If you have any questions about being a single parent, or how to come alongside someone who's a single parent, or want to become a mentor yourself, please contact me. We need your help. We need more people. There will never be a stop to teenage parents. It's one of those things that happens historically throughout all time. Mary was a teenage parent. Okay, just reminding you all of that little fact. So thank you so much for listening, for being part of my life, and hopefully you can feel called to give. Love you guys. Bye.